You know, Fox News is a network, as I'm sure you're aware, and it is one of the three major cable news networks. News, and it's actually the most watched. It has shows that are the highest rated. Well, it used to, at least, whenever Tucker Carlson was still there, across all networks. It is incredibly influential, and it's always existing 24 hours a day. It's always there. We talk about sometimes. I just want to give you a sense of if you were to jump in to Fox News on a random Sunday, you're just for some reason wanting to watch Fox News on a Sunday. I didn't actually do this, but let's pretend I did this to find this clip. It actually was one of the sites that finds clips like this. But let's pretend we just tuned into Fox News, random Sunday, and this is what you'll see. The most absurd, detached from reality stuff. Take a look.
I want to ask you about election integrity. How much do you factor in potential voter fraud when you come up with your polling?
Well, what we're having to do is look back at the last few years and come up with the number of votes that seem to come in that are, kind of untraceable.
Just quickly, they're talking about election integrity or something. It's some discussion on election integrity, and I don't even know who this individual is. It doesn't matter. Newt Gingrich obviously is one of them. Robert Cahaly or something, and try to decipher, break down, okay, what on earth he's even saying. Continue.
People that tend to vote that you don't seem to be able to contact. And so you build a model based on how many of these are going to happen. And unfortunately, in this day and age, when you have to build that model, what you have to do is they're all going to vote one way. But you have to figure out how many people are going to participate who are just not going to be available for you to call. The 95-year-old guy in the news who doesn't watch the news or anything, who has a ballot requested his name and doesn't know there's an election. He's going to vote, and we know how he's going to vote now.
Okay. Newt, are the Republicans doing enough to ensure a free and fair election in 2024?
Well, I think it's probably almost impossible under current law to ensure an accurate election. And I think the only Republican strategy in the long run is to pick issues and win by margins so big that they can't steal it. If you have a very close election, Democrats have a passion for stealing them. And you look at the way they've used bundling. As Robert just pointed out, when you have the local union, which takes care of people in a nursing home, going in to vote the people who literally don't cognitively know what they're doing, you know that union is going to vote every single one of them for a Democrat, no matter what their personal beliefs were. And so I think these are things you got to be honest about. And we're gradually, in the Republican states, beginning to tighten up the election law. But in states dominated by Democrats, like New York, Illinois, California, you just have to assume that the machine will steal as much.
What on earth is happening? That's just a day in the life on Fox News Sunday morning with Maria Bartiromo.
Yeah, I don't even know where to begin. First off, can we just say, Luke, that the first half of that, when that guy went on that word salad rant, and then Maria went, cool, and then turned into like,
it's wild. He's like, and then the thing on the other thing, it just completely incoherent. And
she was so distracted by the bow tie is what it was. That was such a really cool bow tie. But yeah, at the end, okay, cool. Newt was taking a nap, and then he perked up. He's like, oh yeah, what Brian said or what Robert said. Yeah. So I'm sorry that clip was just so disjointed between. Obviously, we all heard what Newt Gingrich said, and I'm sure you got a lot to say on that because it was enraging. But just the first part of it with Mr. Bowtie, the Republican election pollster, I have no idea what he said, and I don't think the other two did either.
Before this segment's over, I want to watch his part one more time, but not yet. Because you're sitting there thinking, if there's two people right now being thought of in what I'm about to say, the guy speaking and the listener. As the listener, you're going, one of the two people in this moment are dumb. It's either me and I can't understand what on earth is being said or this other person. Because there, again, I felt like maybe I'm just thinking because I could not understand the fragmented thoughts that he was providing us.
Yeah, no, listen, there's a great comedian, Louis Black, once said during his one of his stand-ups back in 2006, I'll never forget it, when he said that when then President George W. Bush was speaking, and Louis said that he was home alone, so he was just watching the president during a press conference. He said it was just him and me, and he said, I realized halfway through that one of us was nuts. And so it's kind of the same thing. Like it
totally
gaslights you almost. But I think because of how Newt and Maria Bartiromo reacted, I think it wasn't us, Luke.
It wasn't us. Play just his part one more time. I want to see if we can decipher it. Okay.
Is look back at the last few years and come up with the number of votes that seem to come in that are, kind of untraceable. People that tend to vote that you don't seem to be able to contact. And so you build a model based on how many of these are going to happen. And unfortunately, in this day and age, when you have to build that model, what you have to do is they're all going to vote one way. But you have to figure out how many people are going to participate who are just not going to.
Okay, you can stop it.
Did you see Maria Bartiromo? Now, I'm not fluent in Morse code, but I can recognize Morse code. And that was clearly a plea for help from Maria Bartiromo, where she's like, somebody cut his feed for the love of God. She was blinking.
At one point, she tilts her head and goes, like, as if she needs to listen better.
Yeah, no, what are you talking about? Do you remember, did you ever watch Billy Madison? Do you remember at the very end? First off, did you ever watch it? So it's an Adam Sandler movie, and at the very end, it's the climax of the film, and he's on a debate with the West Wing's Bradley Whitford, who's the villain of the story, and he's supposed to answer this question, and it's a formal debate, and he goes off on this random monologue, and the music is swelling, and everyone thinks it's so inspirational, and then it cuts back to the moderator at the end, and he goes on this like long rant where he was like, everything you just said made everyone worse off for having heard it. You were nowhere near a coherent point. I award you no points, and may God have mercy on your soul. That is what I thought of while listening to this guy talk. But what about Newt, Luke? What about Newt? We didn't even get into him.
And then he just says his normal things, I guess. All of the election denying stuff and the elections being stolen constantly, it's becoming so normal that, as you just noticed, I completely even forgot to mention that he said the things they did, because it's just like, yeah, obviously, that's just every day.
Yeah, no, yeah, it's so the way that Newt Gingrich, who I have a particular disdain for, because a lot of people have forgotten about Newt Gingrich, sadly, but I think you could easily make the case that he has been the most corrupting, or the most important corrupting influence in the modern Republican Party. I'm not saying that's certain, but I think you could make a compelling argument for it, because the tactics, the obstruction, the bad faith negotiation, the abandonment of policy for simply the sake of like pure cynical power politics, the things that we associate with Mitch McConnell, that really began under Newt Gingrich's speakership when he was serving under President Clinton. Mitch McConnell just in some ways perfected the method or improved upon the method during the Obama administrations. But Newt Gingrich did incredible damage to the body politic of the country. And for him to lie the way he did about election integrity, again, offered no facts. When he made that anecdote, Newt, I just called you Newt. I apologize. That is the most insulting thing. He made up this thing about, listen, these unions are taking advantage of cognitively impaired voters. What a bold claim, and offered absolutely no evidence.
Yeah, exactly. And that's perfectly acceptable for a whole lot of people watching that, thinking, getting my news on a Sunday morning. Yeesh.
Before you move on, will you forgive me for referring to you as Newt? I called you.
We can circle back. Let's talk about that offline. This is a little bit too serious for
I'm sorry.
on the air.
Okay, go ahead.
Thank you so much for watching. For the outro on this video, I want to plug Jesiah's channel. Hit them with it, Jesiah.
Hey, everybody. I appreciate you watching. You can find me at youtube.com/@Malfunctions. Pondering Politics, one word, Pondering Politics. If you like progressive commentary that focuses on coalition building with other elements of the left and calling the Republican Party out for what it's become, I hope you'll view my channel, give me a like and subscribe and some feedback. Again, youtube.com/@ponderingpolitics. Thanks again.